Last time we looked at the general priestly genealogy, and now studying 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 16 to 30, we look specifically at the line of Levi. Thanks for joining us. At first glance, this passage seems like a dry, long list of names. But scripturally speaking, it actually holds immense theological and structural importance for the Old Testament. Let me explain. This section focuses entirely on the three main clans of the tribe of Levi, the descendants of Gershom or Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Now, here are the key points and the deeper significance behind these verses. First, the passage establishes the legitimacy of the exile. Chronicles was written after the Jewish people returned from their 70-year Babylonian exile. Their entire society, temple, and system of worship had been leveled. Before anyone could step up now to serve as a priest or temple assistant, they had to prove their pedigree. If you couldn't prove you were a true descendant of Levi, you weren't allowed to manage the sacred things. So the passage served as a verified background check to safely restart the nation's spiritual life. Second, it sets up the three Levitical pillars. The passage outlines the three sons of Levi and traces their branches. In the wilderness days, God gave each of these three families highly specific, orderly jobs to transport the tabernacle, the mobile tent temple. For example, Gershom, Levi's first son, handled the fabric components, curtains, tent coverings, and ropes. Kohath, Levi's second son, carried the most sacred internal items, the Ark of the Covenant, the golden lampstand, and the altars. And Merari, Levi's third son, handled the heavy structural components, frames, crossbars, pillars, and bases. By listing them clearly, the author is showing that God's work requires structural organization. Every clan had an assigned role, and no single job was considered unimportant. Thirdly, it gave us the subtle story of redemption, the line of Korah. If you read closely around verses 22 to 24, you'll spot a famous name, Korah, Korah. He was the grandson of Kohath, a son of Levi, and thus the great-grandson of Levi. Now, I've got grandsons, but I don't yet have any great-grandsons, so I can't share the feeling, but let it be known that this was a great-grandson of Levi's. Generations earlier, in Numbers chapter 16, Korah led a massive, arrogant rebellion against Moses and Aaron, trying to usurp the priesthood. What happened? Well, the earth famously opened up and swallowed the rebels. But Numbers chapter 26, verse 11 notes that the line of Korah, however, did not die out. Here in 1 Chronicles chapter 6, we see Korah's descendants listed right along with the faithful. Instead of being disqualified by their father's treason, Korah's descendants went on to become faithful temple assistants, gatekeepers, and some of Israel's most famous worship songwriters. Many psalms are attributed to the sons of Korah. It's a quiet but powerful nod to God's grace and mercy. Lastly, the passage legitimizes the prophet Samuel. Verses 27 to 28 mention Elkanah and his son Samuel, the great prophet and judge who anointed King David. While all translations don't directly point out this connection, we know about the father-son relationship for two reasons. First, the Hebrew genealogies frequently omit the word son when listing a famous figure's direct descendant to jump straight into their own offspring. So verse 28 links directly to the end of verse 27. Reading them sequentially establishes that Samuel is the immediate next link in the chain after Elkanah. Second, if we need more proof, we can look to 1 Samuel chapter 1, verses 1 and 20. In the book of 1 Samuel, we also note that Samuel's family is described as living in the hill country of Ephraim, which led some ancient readers to confuse his tribal roots. But this genealogy here corrects that confusion, explicitly mapping Samuel's lineage back to the tribe of Levi. Because Samuel performed sacrifices during his life, this passage legally validates his right to do so by proving his Levitical heritage. So what's our takeaway in all of this? 1 Chronicles chapter 6, verses 16 to 30 reminds us, the readers, that God values order, honors generational faithfulness, and willingly weaves redemption into family lines that were once defined by failure. There's hope for all of us. Next time, we'll take a look at the musicians of God's house in the days of David. Join us for that. In the meantime, if you like what you're reading and hearing and seeing, please indicate that on the video you're watching. If you haven't yet done so, please go to YouTube, type in Digging for Scriptural Gems, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. But most importantly, I ask you, keep on studying the Word of God. Have a great day.